Hello, one and all, and welcome back to the League of Europe. We are here today for the second of two pre-season rounds, heading into the fifth season of LOE. Again, we are covering Division 2 here for tonight. This round comes to you from Mexico City, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. I cannot pronounce anything in Spanish, so my apologies. Here in Mexico for the Mexican round. Unfortunately, won't be on the calendar, but we'll be able to see this track in action here tonight. To take you through the action tonight, I'm going to be leading the way, as it has been for the last few seasons of Division 2. I'm Daniel Horgard, and alongside me in the commentary box for the second week running is Aidan Carter. Aidan, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Dan. How are you doing this evening?
Not too bad. It's been a very entertaining evening, watching, of course, the first three divisions of action just an hour or so ago, but now we're going to get into the action here in Division 2. We have a full grid of 20 drivers ready to tackle this race circuit, and we're going to see how these guys all get on and compare against each other, because of course last week at Hungary we managed to get a good idea of how these guys broadly compare to each other, but this is a real indication. Another track, completely different driving style required to be quick around here. So while you saw some drivers, people like Kumblai, Yazaudama, Gary, all performing very well last week, it can be very, very different this week. A field so close, the track so diverse, that you could see a completely different order, and we're going to really get a chance to suss out who's going to be our championship contenders heading into the new season.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, I got absolutely straight out in the second line of the commentary. There we go, guys. So put that down for your drinking game later on. But yeah, like you say, last time out in Hungary it was obviously a lot more focused on the likes of qualifying. I mean, I say it was a focus on the likes of qualifying, but Kumblai won the race from outside the top 10. That alternate strategy at Budapest was absolutely incredible, and Zaudama ended up finishing that race in second place from 15th on the grid. So as much as you needed to focus on qualifying in Hungary, it didn't actually end up meaning that much in the grand scheme of things. The alternate strategy was very strong. Coming into tonight, if you aren't aware, we are making sure that every single driver in the field is starting on these soft compound tyres, just so that they always can get a bit of a gauge of where the pace is, where the pace lies, who's where in the field. So it's a bit of a better representation, because whilst Budapest last time out was an absolutely incredible race, I loved it. It was very difficult to pick out who the championship protagonists were, because everyone was up, down, left, right, backwards and forwards, and we ended up with a topsy-turvy finish.
Yeah, of course, not only that, but we are going to get, I believe, safety car on and damages on, so these drivers are all going to have to take more care of each other out there on the track. Watch out for each other. We're going to go for a little bit of a tour around this lap then, going on board with XL Gary, who impressed so much on the last race at Hungary. Let's see if he can repeat that fortunes here tonight. They're barreling in to the first corner on the lap. That big braking event from some of the highest speeds on the whole calendar. Down through the third gear, turns 2 and 3 out of the chicane. Difficult traction zone. Plant the throttle and you're on the DRS again. Heading down into the second sector at turn 4. Another big stop here as he put it down into second gear. Rotate the car then. A little bit of a low puck from Gary, but he keeps it alive. All over the curve there. Going through turn 5 and then into the double apex turn 6 then. All on the exit area. You short shifted the 4th to make sure you get the traction. Now into this fabulous S section there. At tremendous high speed. You attack turn 7, 8, 9. And now through turn 10. Going through on the exit then. King of turn 11 opens up just in front of you. DRS still open. 54.3 is very good actually, going through that second sector, I believe. So Gary's on a strong lap here so far in the McLaren. Little lock-up though, going in at turn 13. But probably the most difficult tractions on the whole track. At turn 14, King of 15, open up through 16, and then to the final turn at 17, shortest run to the line. Gary crosses a 1:13.1. That's a strong lap to kick off the session straight away as the McLaren. And we're going to see times coming in. Slash though, who had a disappointing round at Hungary by his own admission. 4:10s down at the moment there. Gary, a great way to kick off this session.
That is a stunning lap time from Gary. Actually, just seeing on board with him that apart from the couple of lockups that we saw, not really any mistakes on that lap. Packer crosses the line. He's invalidated, but it was a 13.7 for the Alfa Romeo driver, so that wouldn't have put him any higher than third place on the grid so far. And that's one thing to note around this track as well. It is very easy to invalidate your lap time, especially in the middle part of the lap. On board with Gary, though, he absolutely nailed the middle part of that lap. That S section was absolutely beautiful. It's just brilliant stuff in that middle part of the lap, and he's still currently on provisional pole by 0.4 of a second as Mikras goes into second place in the Haas. Got more people coming up to the line. One of the runners, that's Kumblai, last week's winner, goes onto the front row with a 13.1. Very, very close to the back of Gary, but it's advantage Gary in the opening part of qualifying.
And Gary and Kublai in a league of their own so far after the beginning of that first run. There's Falk goes up in a third place there, just pepping his teammate, but those guys going strongly in this early part of qualifying. RGDW again struggling slightly then on a 1:14.3 in the early part of that session. Everyone's going out in the softs, no point in going for anything else. Everyone is forced on to that softest compound of tyres, the Red Bull tyres, as now XL Ryan, who really impressed me last week in Hungary, comes around the final corner in the Williams, puts himself just in front of his teammate by 0.02 of a second. Very tight in that mid-pack. A lot of drivers already on a 1:13.5 at this early point in the session. I think that was Molan, the pole sitter from last week, putting himself up in a third position. So he's also going strongly, but still Gary and Kublai pretty far clear at the moment there. Those two definitely on a class of their own so far, but this could very, very much evolve, very much change throughout the remainder of qualifying. But Gary holding that pole position. The first lap that we saw so far in this session is the quickest one so far. 5 minutes in, and Gary's still holding that provisional pole.
Yeah, still holding on to it for the time being, but that is another standout lap from Milan, who's kind of come from absolutely nowhere. We didn't notice him last week until he put it on pole position at the end of the Budapest qualifying. That was on his second lap on the same set of tyres, so that's a very representative time at 13.3. And one thing to note as well around this track, tyre wear, especially on the soft compound tyres, is quite big around here. You get to about 5 laps in the race on these softs, and they fall off a cliff. The deterioration in pace can be up to about 2.5 seconds in just a few laps. So the fact he's been able to go third on the grid on that old set of tyres is strong, so we'll see if he can improve later on. Ryan as well on his second lap on the same set of tyres goes P6 in the Williams, and much like you, he really impressed me last time out. He struggled so much to adapt to D2 last season, didn't really make much of an impression, and then goes into the first pre-season race and is right at the front of the field challenging for the race victory. So yeah, Ryan right at the front once again in 6th place ahead of Spag. One person maybe a little bit out of position at the moment is Larkin, currently 13th. I don't know if he made a mistake on his lap or something, but the Racing Point man currently down on a 14.1, so that's not where he needs to be.
Certainly not. We'll see if he can try and improve throughout the remainder of the session. It's going to be tough though, because for bursts down to 10th, the field is so competitive already. I was watching Matt T40, who just validated coming through the S section. He put a phenomenal lap, a 1:13 flat that should would have been pole position, and he will not go again, of course, on that lap. But of course, he's a driver that raced in Division 1 last season, had the pace, often just couldn't translate it into results though, and he's now in Division 2 for this season. Someone moved up, I think that was Zonema, going into 14th position. As I'm watching Autogear Nolan, who coming up from Division 4, also impressed last time out. We'll see what he can do going through this last sector. You can see there going over that curve on the inside line in a third gear for turn 16 on the throttle again. You're having to balance it through the exit, and the Alfa Romeo goes in a 12th place there at a 1:13.6, putting himself roughly in the mix. But as always in D2, it is so close, so competitive. Gary holding that pole position, but we saw Matt go even quicker earlier on, so the potential is there for a lot of other drivers. It's just a case of putting together a track where it's very difficult to keep it between the white lines.
Yeah, before this race, Matt was the one that I was keeping my eye out on. Unfortunately, he wasn't here last week, so we didn't get to see his pace at Budapest. This is the first time we see him this season, and like you say, moved up into D1 at the end of last season and just couldn't really pull it together. He has got incredible pace. I think a lot of D2 races last season, one that stands out in my mind was the Spanish race last season that I took part in. He spun very early on in this race and still managed to call himself back inside the top 5 by the end. So he's got incredible pace, but when put himself in pressure situations, he does tend to struggle a little bit. So if Matt can get to the front of the grid in qualifying, then he's probably odds-on favourite to win this race. But if he qualifies down towards the back, it's going to be maybe a bit more of a struggle for him.
Yeah, we'll see what he can make of it. Don't forget as well, at a track like Mexico, the penalties can really rack up for a lot of the drivers, so keeping it clean throughout. As Larkin, who I was just watching, it validates on that flying lap and will not get a chance to improve there. He's had a trying start to this session, not quite going his way. His de facto teammate Arcola, and actually I'm going to watch Iro Packers a little bit further along, heading now through that turn 14-15. You can see him opening up that last significant corner on the lap, then short shifting to find some traction on the run to the line. Currently down in 19th, goes up to P5. Good lap there from Iro Packer, right up into the mix as the American there. I think Arcolo was following him through, and of course Arcolo is a driver that's really impressed in qualifying sessions, but he hasn't validated made that lap will not improve. We're kind of on to that second run at the moment in qualifying. I'm watching Kublai, who's coming through that last sector just up at his time, but just up is all he needs to try and jump Gary up at the front of the timesheet. So can he pull a bit more out of this last sector? Little look up there in a turn 13, scooping out on the exit, now flying it in a turn 16, running out on the outside now to the line, taking the shortest run he can. Is it pole position? Yes it is, by just under a tenth of a second. Great lap there from Kublai, but Gary and the rest, I suspect, have a lot more in hand, a lot more room to improve later on. Kublai manages to get one over on Gary, but Gary is surely going to fight back there. He's on a lap of his own there, looking to try and unseat Kublai for the top of the timesheets.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to be the first person into the 12s. I'm expecting pole position in this session to be maybe a 12.9 or a 12.8 if someone nails their lap. I'm just watching Ryan at the moment, who's just coming through the middle part of the lap on his next run in qualifying, and he's only half a tenth up on his personal best. So see if he can find some time in the last part of the lap. As ever, Division 2 qualifying is incredibly close, so even a slight improvement could gain him a couple places on the grid at the moment. He's less than a tenth off of being in the top 5. So see how his final sector is as he comes round the final corner. A little bit of a wobble out of turn 17, crosses the line, improves by a tenth, does go into 5th place ahead of Packer and just behind Falk. So even a slight improvement gains him a row on the grid, which is all crucial on the run down into turn 1 because it is such a long run. The closer you could be to the front of the grid without being on the front row could be a massive advantage.
Oh yes, certainly, and certainly Mexico is one of the most unpredictable tracks for the race starts that you're going to see on the entire season calendar. Looks like XL Gary, though, gone off on his lap there. He won't improve. I think his teammate Jekyll has also made an error on that flying lap then, so he's also not going to find any more time. I'm trying to track drivers that are maybe near the edge that have the potential to improve there. McCrass coming up to the line, currently 7th place. Is it a jump up? Yes it is. Goes up onto the second row of the grid, and it's an IFR 3, 4, 5. These guys all impressing on qualifying pace so far. Really making a splash in Division 2 so far. I think we have Mr. Skyzy coming up to the line. He is also invalidate. The Frenchman dives in for Renault, so he won't be able to improve on that then. So a lot of drivers lining up for lap times at this stage of the session. I think Milan is coming through. No, he goes to the pit lane as well. So you're seeing this theme here developing where a lot of the drivers out there struggling to really put their laps together, and validations are going to cost drivers there, and we just have 6.5 minutes to go. So the time for these drivers is running out. They're going to have to put the best laps they possibly can in if they want to try and challenge for that all-important pole position.
They are, as Falk crosses the line now in the second house, and he goes back up into 3rd place. So he's another one in the 13.1, so puts himself a little bit clear of his teammate. But like I say, IFL have come in and really surprised. They've shown a lot of good pace so far. So let's see if they can continue on that trend and try and hold those places on the grid. Maybe get a little bit further up. I think Yorno's another one currently on a lap in the Red Bull. I think Gary, is he on a lap? Yeah, he's on the same set of tyres, going for another lap time then as he crosses the line, goes back onto pole. On the second lap on the same set of tyres, does a 12.9. Wow, that's a stellar lap from Gary. But he's going to want to try and improve on that. He does not want to start this race on an older set of soft tyres. But first person into the 1 minute 12, so said pole could be a 1 minute 12.9. It's looking like it could be a 12.8 if anyone wants to try and beat Gary. Is Yorno improving on his time, currently 13th on the grid in the Red Bull. He's actually invalidated, was 2.5 tenths up, which could have gained him a few places, crosses the line and doesn't improve on his time, obviously, with that invalidation. So Yorno down in 13th at the moment. Last season Division 3 champion, not quite able to break the top 10.
We'll see if he can try and have better fortunes later on there. Arcolo, who has showed some really good qualifying pace near the end of last season. Unable to put that lap together though, is still isolated down there in 19th place at the moment. XL Noon is also validating on a lap. We're seeing that recurring theme out there, but I think we're now getting towards the final stage of the session where a lot of drivers are now just gearing up for their final runs out there on the circuit. I'm not sure if anyone is on a flying lap. Actually, I've just clocked Packer. I'm not sure if anyone else is further along. I think Matthew 40 is having through it. No, he has also turned down the engine, so he must have made a mistake. Nolan, let's try and find the Alfa Romeo. Go to that second section now, but he does invalidate as well, running drastically wide, coming off of turn 10. Will not find any time either. He's down in the second sector anyway, so no one's not going to get any higher than 12 then. I guess we're going to go with his teammate Packer. Quick first sector. Can he make more of it in this middle sector? Through it over the line. He does lose a bit of time, but he is still up to try and move a bit further forward on this grid then. He can probably jump up maybe in a P4 if he really nails this final part of the lap then. So let's see how sector on turn 14 is good. How is it off of turn 16? It's still a little bit of
Again.
oversteer, but I think he must have maybe just made a mistake in that final sector down this time. Packer goes in and he's settling for a final run out there. It's pretty quiet out there on the track. A lot of drivers maybe looking for final runs out there, and we're going to get the answer to who's going to claim pole position for their second pre-season race here at Mexico.
Yeah, Koen Bly's currently on a lap in the Renault. He's gone out a lot earlier than everybody else. Got himself a lot of clean air, which will work beautifully for him. But the track conditions aren't quite at their best as he goes through the second sector split. He's slightly up, but at the moment, that's not quite enough to put him back onto pole position. He's got to find at least another 10th maybe in this final sector to guarantee himself at least provisional pole for the time being. Looks nice and neat so far. Was there a bit of a lock-up into the hairpin? As he comes through turn 17, the last corner, right to the right-hand side of the track, crosses the line, and does. Wow, a brilliant final sector from Koen Bly, and does a 12.8, so he did exactly what he needed to do in that last part of the lap, and he's back onto provisional pole. I tell you what, if both of these guys stay in Division 2, championship battle between Koen Bly and Gary, that could be something to watch.
They've been in a class of their own so far in this qualifying session. Koen Bly, though, putting the pressure on XL Gary. Now Gary is going to have to be the one to respond to that. Can he try and pull out all the stops then? We're into the final 3 minutes of qualifying. A lot of drivers now on outlaps. Going to look to try and get their final runs in. Maybe fueling for a couple of runs out there on the same set of tyres. So they can just pull everything out there and try and minimise the amount of mistakes they make on their runs. Watching RGDW going round at the moment in the AlphaTauri as Skies is having some connection issues. As yeah, we'll see what RGDW can do. Who has had a bit of a tough time of it, of course, just getting back onto the F1 games. Hasn't quite adapted just yet, and he's running very wide through turn 9. Compromises it into turn 10. He runs well off the road then, and validating the lap yet again. He might yet have time to get another one down, but so far it's been a very disappointing start, and a very tough start so far for the former Division 2 driver, former Division 1 driver at some point. He has the talent to really make a splash, but so far he's not quite been going his way.
Yeah, it just doesn't look quite comfortable yet. He definitely, like you say, has got the speed. It is definitely within him. I think he just needs to try and find maybe a setup or some sort of driving technique that really helps him unlock that potential. At the moment, I'm watching Arcolo, who's on yet another run. He still hasn't set a valid time, but he did a 27.6 in the first sector, which is a very strong first part of the lap. Let's see what his middle sector is like. It is a 54.5. Wow, this is looking like a pretty strong time for Arcolo. If he can keep it on the road in the final part of the lap, this could be well inside the top 10. Can he keep it on the road? So far, it's looked nice and neat as he comes up to the last two corners. I think he's going to keep it valid this time round, so he's waiting until the very last moment to set a time, but Arcolo comes up to the line. It's 13-1. Third place for Arcolo. Once again, a great driver in qualifying. Actually, that's beaten by Slash, who comes from nowhere. It is a 13 flat in the Red Bull, so he now goes into third place on the grid. Gary's just started his run in qualifying, or no, he's a bit further around, but Gary's actually made a mistake. So he's backed off and is going to have to go for another run on the same set of tyres. So Gary at the moment seems to be a little bit on the back foot.
Yeah, he's going to have to try and find it. He's going to have to put it all together on this final run. Koen Bly's gone to the pit lane. He's bowing out this qualifying session, but he does hold provisional pole. Just for the time being, though, it could all change there. I think that was Zernemo moving up. He goes to the 13th place, in the thick of the midfield, unable to go any higher, though. So I think we've got XL Gary now. He's gone over the line again, and he's going to have one chance to try and pull this back. Both the Haas drivers are on laps as well. We've seen their pace so far in this qualifying session. We've got a Williams coming to the line. That's XL Ryan, but he's not improving. He did make a mistake on that lap. As Matt to you, that's more like it, and look at how close that is. 2/3 of pole, he's just run out of it. But you said he's a hands-on favourite to win this race if he puts it up the front of the grid. Now he has done. We're going to see if he holds on to that front row. Now he's went from 0 to hero and has a great chance now of converting that into a strong result come the race.
0.02 of a second. It literally could only get 1,000th closer. That is insane how close that is across the line. Someone just improved. That was Jayco, I think, that went 15th. Larkins crossed the line. He's going for another run on the same set of tyres, so I think he made a mistake. Still down in 19th place is Larkin. He's not found anything. As we've got the Mercedes coming to the line now, that will be Milan, who's gone 6th place. Pease is coming around the final corner as well, and he goes P8, so both Mercedes inside the top 10. Noon now goes P6 in the Ferrari, so he improves nicely. One of the Williams crossed the line. I didn't quite see who that was. I think that was Spag, who stays 13th on the grid so far. We've got one of the Ferraris coming to the line. That will be Zaunema on another lap, but he doesn't improve. And into the pit lane comes Gary. No. So Gary wasn't able to improve, and he's retired from the session. So that's qualifying over for Gary. Looks like a possible pole position. It's not going to come his way. Ryan crosses the line, goes back inside the top 10 ahead of Mikras, who's not improved so far, but he's set a brilliant first sector. So let's see if he can improve towards the end of the lap. We've got one of the Alfa Romeos coming to the line as well. I think that's Nolan that's coming around, and he's invalidated his time. So at the moment, not really anyone's going to be able to knock Kublai off.
Let's see if anyone can step up to the plate, but it looks like it's highly unlikely here. We've got XL Larkin, who is half a second up there. He's looking much better on this lap, but he's a long way down the order. He's going to struggle to really get any higher than around 15th, 16th place, and that's exactly where he does go into 14th in the end, just in front of Spag. And I think of that midfield battle, I think we've got Slash coming round, but he has turned down the edge, and he's backing off that lap. Then we've got a Haas coming round. I think that's McCrass, who is up at his time, and he goes up in the 9th place, but it's so competitive, and these guys all struggling to climb too far up the order. I'm not sure if we've got anyone left. I think it's just Total Peas that's out there. Milan's out there as well, both the Mercedes, but I don't think they're on flying laps at this point. They're going to bow out of it. Kublai didn't set it right at the end. He is going to snatch pole position though by the smallest of margins, and if that's anything to go by, we could have a thriller that has there. Kublai takes that pole position, but my oh my, he's a run close for it.
That is stunning qualifying session. Absolutely brilliant. The top three separated by less than a tenth of a second. And look at the gap between Arcolo in 5th and Ryan in 11th. That is less than 2/10 of a second between those 6 drivers. That is insane. I thought, well, qualifying was insanely close last time out at Budapest. Come to a completely different track in terms of layout and style of driving, and it's still incredibly close. So this D2 season is already shaping up to be something else.
Yeah, I don't think we can be surprised by that at this stage then. I think close grids in qualifying are the norm now. Kublai, 2,000 for a Matt T40. He puts himself right in contention though. XL Gary settles for 3rd. That if he put together that final run, it may well have been pole position. Slash, better showing from him at 4th. Arcolo as well, much better at 5th from Noon. And first time we've seen him out there this season. Milan 7th this time. Falcon McCrass ending up a bit further down in 8th and 9th. Total P's 10th and outside the top 10. Ryan Yorno, Packard, Larkin, Spag, Zaunama, Jaco, Nolan, Skyzy, and RGDW round out the grid. But unlike the vast majority of races we have, is that the guys outside the top 10, they're not going to have that advantage then of changing having that free choice of tyres, because as we know, for this second pre-season race, to get better evaluation of the drivers, everyone forced onto that soft tyres, and so no crazy alternate strategies we're going to be seeing here. It's just all down to the speed of the drivers, and we're going to see these guys are going to have a much tougher time working their way through, so the guys inside the top 10 will have a much better chance of holding on to those top 10 places.
Definitely, and I think another thing to look out for in this race is going to be the undercut. That is ever more crucial than it has been in these races. Choosing the right time to pit is going to be crucial in these ones. And I think with all the people starting outside the top 10, they must be livid that this is the track that we're having the pre-season race on, where they can't do the alternate strategy, because there are so many different strategies you can run at this track. You can run a medium-hard strategy, hard medium, soft medium, soft medium, medium. There's so many strategies at this track you can run, and starting outside the top 10 usually at this track isn't that much of a terrible thing. If you can avoid damage on the first lap, you could be set up for a possible race victory even starting outside the top 10. So those guys must be really frustrated they weren't able to improve on their final runs and get themselves inside the top 10. But like I say, the undercut around this track is going to be incredibly crucial. And another thing to look out for as well is who can make those soft tyres last.
Yeah, the soft tyres generally go off quite fast around this track. Skyzy again out the session. His connection just really isn't holding up tonight. Hopefully it manages to sort itself out, and hopefully as well we get away cleanly for this race, as I've seen so often in the past. Lobbies have gone down in similar situations to this. They leave the grid now. Just going to check everyone on the soft tyres. Fantastic to see, and no one going against the rules then. And I think Division 1, I'm not sure about what you saw in Division 3, but everyone seemed to be clean there as well. So good job from everyone generally tonight, making sure they're running that right strategy. And so we can get a fair representation of all these drivers. Kublai though, winning last time out in Hungary, pole position this time out in Mexico. He has really set himself up, and he has proved why he was in Division 1 for 2 seasons in, showing his class here so far in pre-season. He's got himself another pole position, but this is one of the most difficult ones on the entire calendar to convert, because it's about a 900 metre run, I think, into the first corner. That might even be more than that, I might even be wrong on that. So the guys in the second row have a great chance of challenging for that race win if they get off the line cleanly.
Yeah, definitely. In my Division 3 race, I started on pole position, and I fell to about 4th by the time we got to the braking zone for turn 1, because the slipstream at this track, even without DRS, is incredibly powerful, because we are quite high up in terms of altitude around this track. It, for some reason, makes the slipstream incredibly powerful here. And if I was the other people on the grid, I'd be very worried about Koen Blij here, because Koen Blij won in dominant style in Budapest from 11th on the grid. This time around, he's on pole, which maybe suggests that his race pace around here could be something else. I don't want to predict who's going to win this race, because who knows who's going to win this race. But if I'm going to put my money on anyone, Koen Blij is probably the safest bet.
Well, you set yourself up for it now. Hayden Carter, what is your top 3 prediction for this race in Mexico?
I think beyond Koen Blij, I'm going to put Gary on the podium for the 2nd week in a row. 3rd place in this race is going to be a difficult one, but I think we might see XL Noon on the podium.
I tell you what, that was pretty much what I was going to go for, so you kind of stole that away from me. We'll see how that goes, though. Of course, commentators have a great record with predicting, and I'm sure you guys will all know. Here we go, though. The grid now settled. Hopefully we get away cleanly, and we can get this race underway then, as everyone locked in on the grid. Here we go now. So here we go then. All 20 drivers lined up. They're ready to go racing. We are ready. We have 5 lights. And we're away for the 2nd pre-season race at Mexico. Who's got the best off at the front? Koen Blij gets away very strongly, and it's Matt who was slow off the line there and under pressure already from behind. And Slash getting a great slipstream there from behind Koen Blij, who may convert the lead, who will convert the lead, I think, into the first corner. But the battle for 2nd place is fierce as round the outside runs Gary. First is MMA Slash. They go wheel to wheel through turn 3, but Gary runs around and gets into position. Now Matt trying to fight back there after a poor run off the line. Gets up and alongside MMA Slash and almost making it 3-way into turn 4. Backside from Gary, still running at Slash. They're trying to snatch that podium from him. They're running out wide there behind. I think that was Arcola pushed off the track then as XL Noon dives it on Matthias there. They're getting to go side by side. Spinners in the background. I think that was Pace. I think that was Ryan that went off there. Matt holding up in front of him then. But 2 spinners on this opening lap there. I mean, it looks like they kept it all clean through the first few corners, but down there at turn 6 we've had an incident. Pete has spun right to the back of the field. He's got so much ground to make up now in this race if he wants to get anything good out of it this. But up at the front, Koen Blij did exactly what he needed to. At least by almost a full 2nd out there at the front, as Slash fighting off Matt then in an all-enthralling battle over 3rd place then. It's allowing the top 2 to get away, but a brilliant start from Koen Blij, a 2nd clear after this opening lap.
Yeah, and there's a lot of chaos going on in the middle of the pack as well. We've got a few drivers into the pit lane already, so Yorno's in and Ryan's into the pit lane as well. So that's 2 drivers already with damage. I think Ryan might have got that in the S's section because there were a lot of drivers off the road. Pease, I think, was just trying to get out of the way of someone and just got run into from behind, unfortunately. So that's why he got spun around at the hairpin. That is such a shame. After another good and strong qualifying for Pease, the race is not going to go his way, and they're all going on to the medium compound tyres as you would expect. So they'll maybe do a double medium stint towards the end. Actually, as I say that, Ryan's got onto the soft compound tyres. Like I said, that Koen Blij leads the way. Amazing job of him to hold on to the lead into the first corner. Gary, amazing job to hold on to 2nd place as well. Matt just got swamped off the line.
Yeah, but he did manage to repass Slash. They're going into turn 1 in the 2nd lap then. So the Red Bull dropping back, the AlphaTauri advancing back onto the podium. Let's see if he can try and reel in the top 2. We know the pace that he has. Let's see if he can try and get it working now. First penalty of the race there, Autogear Nolan. He's had a horrible time of it so far this evening, as now the graphics will finally sort themselves out for good. Not quite. Total Pease is still showing a P1 for me, but surely that will sort itself out in due course, and we can see how this race truly stands. So Koen Blij converts it then, and Gary gets himself up in a 2nd place, but he's being reeled in by Matthew 40, who is flying already. 169 there. He's got some great pace under him. Lap 3 in this race. DRS will not come into play until basically the 3rd sector in the lap. They're coming out of the S section. So at the moment, everyone just running in a line. No, it doesn't look like they're really going to see any overtaking there. There's Milan gets a penalty already there in 10th place. Not had a great start to this race either. It's Falk that was on the move off the start. He's got away well, as has Noon, getting himself up in the top 6th in this race. But Koen Blij leading away. He's broke that DRS range in a track like Mexico that is so crucial. And for the 2nd week running, the Renault driver looks in imperious form so far tonight.
He definitely does, and the thing that could really help him in this race is Matt does look faster at this point than Gary, but Gary's holding his own at the moment. Obviously, DRS isn't quite available just yet. The first time they'll get DRS is down this little straight here as Slash now picks up a penalty. Wow. Lap 3, and already people are getting penalties. It is very easy to do around this track. Matt picks up the DRS, but that straight is nowhere near long enough unless the driver makes a mistake for you to go to a move into that corner. So Matt, maybe going to try and go for the move down towards turn 1 or maybe down towards turn 4 if he is close enough. That does look like the fast of the two, and they are now starting to drop Slash, and there is a queue of all queues now forming behind Slash. Everyone is within DRS range all the way down to 14th place. Nolan is the first person outside of DRS range behind Slash. So everyone looking very similar pace at the moment. It's all about when these guys pit, and if these guys go for a move, where do they go for it? I think Noon might be thinking of a move on Slash. He's not close enough. Matt, though, down the inside of Gary into turn 1, and Gary can't really put up a fight for it, so Matt down the inside is up into second place.
And oversteer from Gary is going to rule out any chance of fighting back. That great move from Matt. He is a man on the move at this stage of the race. Now Nuno is lighting up Slash again, looks to the inside line, will hang back from the late breaking overtake. Then he knows he just needs to bide his time in there, but Slash struggling for race pace, I'd say, early on there, and struggling for traction there out of turn 5. And Exile Noon maybe fancying his chances, but getting through in this middle part of the lap, very, very difficult then. It's pretty single file going through most of this middle sector. So Kublai now leads, 1.6 seconds clear. Matt U40, slow off the line, fighting back brilliantly and emphatically, now runs in that second place. We'll see if he can chase down the race leader, but that he is going to have a hard task ahead of him, because Kublai again is driving pretty much seamlessly at the front of the race, and he usually avoids penalties, so he is looking almost unbeatable at this point. So Matt's going to have to bring his A game to this, try and reel him in. Kublai has more ARS as well, as Slash goes to the pit lane very early there on the 4th lap of the race, so he dives to the pits straight away almost. So that tells me he's maybe going to try and undercut. You mentioned how powerful it can be at this circuit, as further back they're all bunching up there. Arcola looking to the inside line of Falk, doesn't quite go for it at a turn 1 then, holding back from the late breaking move yet again, as now they power out of turn 3 then. Another DRS burst. We'll see if we have any moves then. I think Falk has got DRS on Noon, but Noon as well just about got it from Slash before he came in, so he maintains that 4th position. All sitting pretty static, I'd say, although a Spag trying to get underneath Arcola then gets alongside and through it at turn 16. Great opportunistic driving from Spag, gets himself up into the top 6, and now he's going to look to chase down the cars in front. Spag having a great start to this race so far, getting himself up towards the front, and he's another driver that avoids penalties. It was a catalyst for his strong finish last time out in Hungary, so he's also in a charge. And Larkin as well, under pressure from Jaco, who looks towards the inside lane, and a turn 12 McLaren gets alongside Racing Point, just pinched up to the inside, had to get out of that. The Racing Point shut the door on him, able to maintain that 10th place at the moment. You can see them all running in line. Doesn't look like we're going to see any pit stops here, so it's Slash that's really the outlier on strategy. He's a nice clean air, and now it's all about, as Larkin comes in as well actually, it's all about how much ground you can make up on these medium. Try and make that undercut work, and maybe get in a fight. There's Milan pulls alongside McCross, and DRS for the pair, but the Mercedes will get through easily, and up into 8th place now, trying to chase down the cars ahead. As also, I think we've got Packer attacking Jaco, then Jaco round the outside of 1, down the inside of 2, round the outside of 3, but his attacks are completely shut off there by the Alfa Romeo Cinema now, gets up alongside the McLaren with more momentum, running around this Skyzy out the racer, VSC here on the 6th lap.
Yeah, that's somewhat saved J. Cole there. I think Zanima wasn't quite past by the time they got... Actually, no, he was. Zanima was just ahead of J. Cole by the time the virtual safety car came out. So that has worked beautifully for Zanima. And yeah, J. Cole had absolutely no ERS to defend with. That's another thing about this track. There is so many straights on this track where you can just burn through your ERS. If you're not smart with it, it goes and you can't really get it back. So J. Cole seems to be one of those drivers that's burnt through it very early on. Slash was another one of those drivers as well that burnt through their ERS very early on in this race. We're already seeing, though, people started to struggle with their tyres. Arcolo, one of them, seems to be struggling a little bit with his soft compound tyres, and you can tell that Larkin and Slash definitely were, because they pitted so early in this race. I think maybe even a little bit too early, because the mediums, while they will get to the end of their race if they do 2 medium stints from here, the mediums are going to be on fire by the end of the race.
Yeah, certainly. And so we're, yeah, let's have a look then. You can see coming down the main straight. Haven't really seen any pit stops. McCrath's the only one in, and that's because the VSC actually, well, it went great just before the race leaders reached the pit lane. So they don't have a chance to get benefit from that. You can see though, Falk is on the move. He has got XL Noon right in his sights. Can he get a move done there? J. Cole as well with a penalty very early in the race. As Spag gets a strong exit then. Coming up a turn 3. Can he get up to the Haas? And he's looking, tucking under his rear wing then. Is he going to go to the inside lane? Yes, he is. He's laying on the brakes and Spag then gets alongside. And then Rooney is in a turn 5. Surely he's going to get squeezed out there. And Falk maintains that 5th position. But Spag is on a charge at this point in the race. I'm just checking the starting positions. He started there in 15th place. Now runs inside the top 6. There's Spag gets a penalty. And that's going to really hold him back. He's still got Gary within his range. But going as well. As he's out in the session, they're coming out of turn 11 there. He must have dropped it on traction. And now out the race in a second. VSC deployed there. The race leaders are going to be able to pit this time.
This is going to work beautifully for the race leaders if they come in now. This is exactly the right time to pit in this race for a set of medium tyres. Do they come in and convert to a medium to the end of this race, or do people stay out and maybe go for the softs? Kuhnbly's into the pit lane. You would imagine if Gary's in as well. He is. Noon should be coming in. He does. They're all coming into the pit lane. What perfect timing for these guys as they all come in. Arcolo nearly ran straight to the back of Spag there in the pit lane. It just about gets away with it. Zaldimer is the only one that stays out. Ever the man to go something a little bit different. Jacob stays out as well. But Zaldimer going a little bit longer in this race. However, I do think pitting under the virtual safety car gains you massive amounts of time. So I don't know if this strategy is quite going to work for them.
Don't forget though, his teammate Noon was into the pit lane in front of him, so he's just avoiding a double stack then. Unfortunate. And also Slash hasn't gained when he wanted to. He is going pretty much full chat down the straight. He's going to get level with Spag then. Who's going to get the benefit of that? I think it is going to be Slash getting through. And now he does have to let him through actually, so he got past him after Spag left the pit lane, who gets back up to the 8th place. So that's completely negated Slash's undercut attempt, who now runs further back in the train. Kuhnbly has a commanding lead now, and the top net in the race. He is 4.4 seconds clear at the moment of XL Gary. He is running clear with this race for the second week in a row. And I do know that he likes this track, but even so, his superiority over these guys yet again in race trim has been completely shown up here, as I think we had a couple of penalties, RGDW and Spag picking up a penalty as well further down the field. But Kuhnbly, he's going to get up towards the top 3, who'll probably all come in. Maybe one of them's going to try and stay out a bit longer, and you mentioned Zerima trying to do something different. Both he and Jaco there. RGDW also out there as see in the D1 race. A couple of drivers going for a one-stop there, soft to hards. Do you think that's a viable strategy? And if these guys on the soft tires are stretching it this far, do you reckon they're going to go for something different there and try and make one less stop than all of their competitors in this race?
A one-stop is a bold strategy. I think it can work if you're nice on your tyres. Maybe someone like Zaldimer could pull that off because he is ever so kind on his tyres, as we've seen in so many different races previous. But you'd have to get these softs to at least lap 12 or 13 to even think about going to the hards towards the end of the race. So they've got a long way to go. And Kuhnbly's nearly caught them already. So even if they're going for the one-stop strategy, it doesn't quite look like it's going to work at this point. Jacob seems a lot faster as well than Zaldimer, but you could tell Jacob's pushing quite hard. So the fact that he's still going on his soft compound tires is a little bit strange. Obviously, he couldn't come in because Gary was in the pit lane, so he would have been held up. But even so, the fact he's decided to continue on means that he's maybe thinking of a one-stop or doing a double soft stint in this race, which is possible, and he'd need to get through the pack quickest there. Zaldimer very late on the brakes into the stadium section, outbroke himself ever so slightly, and that's put J. Cole right on the back of him. So J. Cole surely is going to get this move done down the pit straight. Just a note as well, in the pit lane, Gary did get held up in the pit lane ever so slightly, so that has costed him a bit. Someone who gained massively in the pit lane was Packer. He gained 4 places in that pit lane because of the amount of people being held up. So he's all of a sudden put himself in the battle for the top 5 positions, as Zaldimer is overtaken by J. Cole, who breezes past in a straight line. No contest whatsoever, and J. Cole's the new race leader.
I have to say right now, our prediction's looking pretty strong at the moment, it must be said, Hayden. Right now, we're running pretty strongly as it stands, but it can all change there. However, Falk looks very quick there. He's worked his way through the order, and now sits on the rear wing on the Ferrari of XL Noon, very close to turn 3. Is he going to go for a move then? He has a lot of ERS to his name, and he's going to deploy it. He's going to run it now towards the outside lane, and turn 4. Can he go the long way round here? IFR Falk looking for 6th place, and he sweeps round the outside of turn 4, inside of turn turn 5 then. The Ferrari run out of the road. And is Falk going to get this move done? Yes, he is. Brilliant from IFR Falk. Move done. Noon couldn't hold it back there, and he gets up into a net podium position. Brilliant from Falk, and with Gary up ahead just picking up a penalty, all of a sudden he's worked himself into a net P2 now. The Haas on the charge then, running through the order, and there's a real chance of a great showing here in Mexico. He's flying at the moment.
That was a stunning move from the Haas driver around the outside of turn 4. That is definitely the line to take if you're going for a move, because you get the inside line for turn 5, and Falk read that beautifully. And you see how powerful the slipstream was down that second straight. He just went to the outside and was there almost immediately, how fast he was closing in. But Noon is still right on the back of him down this straight, so does he go for the move down towards turn 1? He's not using his ERS, so that suggests he's just going to sit back and maybe let Falk try and pull him along. But even so, without using any ERS, Noon is closing in so quickly, but is not close enough in towards turn 1. Falk's real race now is trying to close in on the back of Gary and see if he can pass Gary on the road, because while Gary does have a penalty, there's no shadow of a doubt really that Falk or Noon could pick up a penalty in this race. So we'll wait and see if he can close in on the McLaren in front. Meanwhile, into the pit lanes comes Zaldimer and J. Cole. Zaldimer comes out in 14th on a set of soft compound tyres, so he's gone for something a little bit different.
Yeah, he's going very aggressive. It doesn't look like anyone's going to go for a one-stop here, apart from RGDW, who's still keeping those softs out there, but you can see how much he's struggling. Kumblai breezed past him on the main straight there, and he's already nearly 2 seconds ahead, showing the superiority of the fresh mediums at this stage in the Grand Prix. We're currently running on lap 11 of the race then. You can see everyone still filtering through. We're keeping an eye on Zernema. He's going to be flying in this middle stint surely now. He's got Mikras right in his sights, opens DRS, but he's not going overtake. I think he knows he's too far away to make a move here going into turn 12, and a second penalty for Gary in just about as many laps. So he's really struggling out there as RGDW finally goes to the pit lane. You can see as well, IFR Falk is going to be under pressure as Noon reeling him in again, but he's not using the overtake. Is he holding back for a move? I think he's still going for it though. He pulls to the inside line, does Noon then, and again they're going to go side by side this time for third place, but Noon down the inside, gets the move done nice and straightforward. The Ferrari is now back into the podium places. These guys dueling it out there, as Spag is also getting himself into contention. They're looking at the rear wing of the Haas. Can't get through for the moment as Falk looks at the inside line, hangs back from the move. These guys all running in a train now from 3rd down to 8th, all in a DRS train, running so evenly matched, millimeters apart from each other. Thrilling racing here in Division 2, and still Noon and Falk on for podiums as it stands, with Gary's 2 penalties now. You can see in there 6 seconds is really holding him back. Then those penalties are going to cost him, but as you mentioned earlier, every driver could be susceptible to them. Even at 12 laps into the race, I reckon you could see pretty much every driver in the field picking up a penalty, and the order being dramatically shaken up by the end of the race.
It really could. As it stands, if the race were to finish now, Kumblai would win the race from Gary, and then Noon and Falk would be 2nd and 3rd, and Packer would end up 4th, and he's currently 7th. So that just goes to show we're only 13 laps in, and we've already got this kind of change in the order because of penalties. In the Division 3 race I took part in, only one driver got to the end of the race without a single penalty. So it goes to show how difficult it is around this track to pull that off. Zaldimer with a 16.3. That's a stunning lap time, as he's now going for a move on J. Cole once again. These two close to each other on track. J. Cole though has DRS in his help to defend, but Zaldimer down the inside line using pretty much all of his ERS, but J. Cole really late on the brakes. He's going to get that one stopped for turn 2. He's going to have a little bit of a compromised run though through the corner. I don't think Zaldimer's going to be close enough unless he gets a good run, which he does. But J. Cole again gets the DRS down towards turn 4. He's going all the way to the left hand side. Zaldimer's going to have to be later on the brakes this time round, and he is around the outside of the corner, going to try and do the same move that Falk pulled off a couple of laps ago. He's going to go around the outside, but J. Cole's holding his own. He's got the outside line for the hairpin. They're still going to be side by side here. It's all about the run down toward the S's, and you've got to say J. Cole's going to have to give this one up. Zaldimer on the racing line gets it done, leaves J. Cole a little bit of space, but Zaldimer gets it done on the way into the S's. Great move from Zaldimer. It's up into 11th. Larkin should be relatively easy meat for the Ferrari driver.
Those two are some of the cleanest and most experienced drivers we have in Division 2, and that is evidence of it. Brilliant racing between the pair of them, giving it their all, but giving each other enough racing respect as well. You can see Jacobs trying to fight back, but Larkin now is well within range, and Zaldimer now coming through on the move. He has the racing point right in his sights, opens up that DRS yet again down the main straight. I'm going to keep an eye though further up the field, because I know that they are beginning to bunch up there, but Zaldimer now on the overtake, but Larkin actually has a bit more to his name. may be able to maintain that 10th place, will maintain it for the moment, cutting back towards the front of the grid. Still, Noon looks like he has enough in hand to maintain that 3rd place. He has quite a bit of ERS to use in his defence as well, so Noon holding on to it. He's sticking with Gary just about as Kublai continues to control this race from the front then. And as it stands, the Renault driver looks to be winning this at a canter yet again then. He leads 4.5 seconds clear, no penalties just yet. He's just flying along nicely, and as it stands right now, with the pace that he showed in both these pre-season races, just on the evidence of what we've seen, he has to go into next season as a strong favourite to challenge for the title.
At this point in this point in the pre-season, I wonder whether he's actually costing himself a chance at the title, because he could end up getting moved up to D1. But my word, this is stunning pace so far. It's been great races. You can just see by the way that Kuhn is driving that he just doesn't have to push. He knows that Gary behind him has got a 6-second deficit, even if they cross the line at the same time. So Kublai just can run around at his own pace, not use up his fuel or his ERS, make sure he doesn't make any mistakes or pick up any warnings, and he could just cruise to the finish line and win this race by at least 10 seconds as it stands. So he's not taking any life out of those medium tyres, not doing anything strenuous. Gary has got decent pace. He's pulled away from the Kia cars behind, despite them nearly being within DRS range a couple of laps previous. But even so, those 2 penalties really are costing him. On that previous lap as well, Packer and Milan both picked up a time penalty at the same corner, so that's them relatively pretty much within the same penalty window as all the drivers in front apart from Noon and Falk. So that's kind of negated their advantage they had a little bit earlier on. Zaldimer has passed Larkin now. He's got 2.8 seconds to Arcolo in front. He's only 5 seconds off the back of this queue of cars, and once again doesn't have any penalties, so we can't rule Zaldimer out of this race just yet.
But don't forget, he is going to have to put on the mediums at the end of the race, and that's going to be when the tables can't turn, if you like. So he's going to have to make serious progress if he wants to hold on to those places in the last few laps of this Mexican Grand Prix. So still, this battle for 3rd place rages on, and Falk tried to chase down Noon, but Noon looks to have really strong pace that he can keep these guys at arm's length and not come under too much pressure. A bit of overtake load coming out of that final corner usually is going to do it for him, and he can just maintain that 3rd position and just run his own race. Are we seeing closer battles further down the order though? Packer seems to be the closest driver behind, but he cannot quite get up to Slash, and they're all just playing a bit of cat and mouse with each other here, running in their own lines and all just searching, making sure they're not making mistakes and relying on mistakes from the others. Further back then, Jacob gets alongside Larkin, gets past Larkin, who couldn't fend him off there, couldn't hold him back, and now Jacob on fresher tires runs in 12th place, and you can see the advantage of staying out a little bit longer term in the race, and so he moves up into 11th place, but can't quite match Zaudima's pace as he closes up to Arcolo up the road. So still it remains intact and no real moves being thrown right now, and I think it all comes down to the front of this train. Falk looks pretty content to just sit off the back of Noon. Noon is driving very well there, no real mistakes he's making, still penalty free out there, and Falk just chasing him down but can't quite through it. Noon holding on to that 3rd place, but slowly but surely Gary is pulling away, so the dreams of 2nd place for the McLaren driver might not be over just yet.
Yeah, it might not just be over. Like you say, it's up to 3 seconds now, so that's one of those penalties basically negated at this point. He's doing a good job, and he's saving himself possibly a podium as Gary. He's got decent pace, like I say. He is doing a decent enough job, but Noon and Falk haven't made a mistake so far in this race. They've been so clean. They're just keeping it together at the moment. If they can maybe up the ante a little bit and try and close back in on Gary, then that's pretty much game over for the McLaren driver. Someone's gone off in the middle section. I think that was Pease that's made a mistake. His race has gone from bad to worse, really, hasn't it? It's such a shame for Pease after such a strong qualifying in Budapest and a strong start to the race. It all fell apart from there. Spag, actually, look at Spag once again, a great run through the chicane. He's looking to make another move down towards turn 4, but Falk recognised it, put his ERS on and defends the line, so Spag can't get the move done. But he looks very strong in that first sector to Spag. Every time we come out of turn 4, he is tucked right underneath the rear wing of the car in front. So if the drivers in front start battling or make a little error, Spag is going to be directly onto them.
Yeah, Spag probably running a bit lower wing, but you're seeing that extra straight line speed coming into play there, as I think Yorno, I think as Peace is moving past Yorno further down the field then. Spag looks very strong at the moment, but don't forget, you see there, he was in range of going for a move on Falk, but he hesitated to go for it, and that's because if you go side by side with someone, in a train like this, you can find yourself dropping off the back, so even if you gain a place, you're losing out in the long run. I saw Slash made a mistake, that's putting Packer right on him there, heading now through the turn 16, and Packer has a lot of overtake to use, and he's deploying it now, heading onto the main street. Are we going to see a change here now? DRS is active. Slash is going to try and hold on to that. Milan also charging up to Packer as well, so they're all bunching up in this battle, but again, we're not going to see any changes here. They all still sit in a line, and Slash going to have to get on with it now. Try and get back up towards the 3 drivers in front. Falk is closing in, but he makes a mistake coming over turn 3, and now again that puts Spag in. This time he's on the overtake mode, but again he's just too far away and has to maintain P5 at the moment. It's all very tense, it's all very slow pace, and everyone just feeling each other out, looking to see where everyone is strong, where everyone is weak, trying to see where they can capitalise on their mistakes. But still, the order stays the same as now. Peace is out the session, and now we have 3 drivers out, and that's not what we wanted to see in a race where we're trying to judge drivers' pace, we're tiring off your own back. We saw it. I saw it in Division 1, it's not what we want to see. And Pease, you have to feel for the guy though, after such a strong showing through Budapest, had that result taken away from him, and now he's had another poor showing here in Mexico. As I saw Falk make a mistake, the Spag's right on him. Is he going to go for a move this time, heading into turn 1?
Surely he's got to go try and go for the move this time around, but Spag has used up a lot of his ERS trying to get this move done, and it hasn't worked. Slashes into the pits. Remember, he pitted on the end of lap 4, so he came in incredibly early, so I'm not surprised he's the first one in. But that is a long way to go on a set of mediums. He only managed 13 laps before this pit stop. He's now got to do 18 laps on this set of tyres. That is a long way to go for him in this race. He will undercut a lot of drivers around him, but at the end of this race, he is going to be he's going to be an easy target in that Red Bull. As a little bit further down the field, RJGW is trying to get it moved on Nolan, but he can't get the moved on for 13th place. Nolan, a fairly innocuous race for him. He's been struggling for pace around this track all week, I know that, and he's just not been able to get on top of it. Same as well for Larkin in this race. I was going to mention it a little bit earlier on, but Larkin has had a very subdued race. He's been running outside the top 10 for the majority of this race and just hasn't really made an impression, which for me is a little bit shocking.
Yeah, for a former Division 1 driver, former Division 1 race winner, and not quite showing the pace here at Mexico and struggling, languishing a little bit further down the field in P11. Slash now, he is going to struggle to get to the end on those tyres, I agree, but he is going again for an undercut attempt. Let's see if this one is going to be come to fruition, or if is it going to be disrupted by another outside source. Again, Spag, he looks like the quicker driver out of himself and Falk, but he does not have the ERS to follow through with a move. As it stands, he's got a strong slipstream from him, but it's not strong enough to pull through, and still Noon holding all these guys back. And you can see Packer is the one that's struggling to stay with it. A gap opened up when Slash came in, and I think McCrass has gone into the pit lane further down the field. Again, maybe try and get himself further into the race, as I think the train has had a new member. Arcolo has been reeling these guys in slowly but surely over the last few laps. Now runs with them. The Racing Point driver's pace has been phenomenal as of late. He has a lot of ERS as well, but with everyone having DRS off each other, it's making progress through this train is going to be so difficult.
It really is, yeah. He's going to maybe want to close up to the back of these guys and then pit immediately so he doesn't get held a little bit. You can see a bit further up Packer all over the back of Spag there coming into the start of the S's, but there's just no overtaking opportunities. And now you can see Falk is starting to struggle with understeer. I think running in the dirty air behind Noon for so many laps now is just starting to affect his tyres. He's really understeering, but Noon runs wide and gets a time penalty, so that saved Gary a place on the podium so far. Falk would still take that second place as it stands, but they are still dropping away. Slash with another penalty in this race, and Falk's into the pit lane, so he's come in. No one else has followed him in, so he's gone in a little bit early. We'll see where he is relative to Slash, and this could be an inspired move from the Haas driver.
Yeah, you mentioned he was struggling in these tires. I think he was listening to you, Aiden. Now, to the pit lane comes IFR Falk. Medium tires going on again, looking for an undercut attempt. Where does he come out relative to MMA Slash, though? That's something I've got to look out for. What else I'm going to look out for is Arcolo on the move, and he clears Milan, heading into the first corner, now flying through up into that 6th position, trying to charge now up towards the cars in front there. RGDW looking at Nolan, again unable to get through then, as out of the pits comes Falk, and look at that undercut. Slash has gained over 2 seconds on him just in a few laps then. That's how strong and how potent that undercut could be, and those drivers in that train could be losing out there. Slash could move from the midpoint of the train to the front of the train. That undercut he's just pulled off is phenomenal.
That is a massive undercut. Slash was 2 places behind Falk, and in a lap has gained well over 3 seconds
What?
and has jumped him. That is a massive lap from Slash. So where on earth has that come from? Is that just tyres, or is that just Slash absolutely burning up his fuel and going for an amazing lap time? Because that is something else. What a lap that's been for Slash. This is easily going to put him into 3rd place when everyone comes into the pit lane, and still no one is coming in. They're all staying out for a bit longer. I'm wondering whether some of these guys are going to pit and put on a set of soft compound tyres.
If they extend for a few more laps, that's definitely a possibility. So I think you may well be right on that, Aiden. They may well be going for a soft stint to end the race, and so try and negate that undercut and catch the likes of Slash and Falk in the back part of the race. Spag's pace, though, his race pace looks so strong, and he's been able to close up to Noon almost instantly. He's obviously got a toe from him, but the Williams driver, who had really struggled in that qualifying session, has come alive in the race, and now is chasing down the Ferrari, looking at maybe getting himself up into the podium places. He's not out of that just yet, as Spag then, who of course battled well inside the top half of the field last time out in Division 2, has shown his pedigree here today, and now is really in the Ferrari. But great run through the S section from Noon's going to keep him afloat. Let's see what the strategy is going to be. These guys, I think, are going to have to stay out for a few more laps if they want to go for the soft tyres realistically to the end of the race. Otherwise, they're dropping off. And with damage on this week, you could well be looking at punctures near the end. So let's keep an eye out there as they round turn 16. Noon stays out. Spag stays out, Packer stays out, Arcolo stays out, and Milan. So that tells me they may well all be going for the same strategy, which is a soft set to end the race. And given that they may well have been outfoxed by Slash and Falk staying out that bit longer, it could well be a really good strategy for them to try and counteract them. But look at Spag, then he closes right up to Noon. He is going on the attack as Williams. Can he get through then? He gets a phenomenal run through turns 2 and 3. He's pushing the Ferrari round. Now has the RS, moves up to the outside line. We've seen 2 cars go round the outside here on turn 4. Are we going to see a third? Spag round the outside and Noon squeezing him out wide towards the white line. But Spag face back through turn 5. Forced the Ferrari into turn 6. Gets oversteer though, and now dives it down the inside. Forces him off the track almost, but he does get into 3rd place. And a feisty, hard charging move as ever from Spag is enough to claim the podium. There was contact between them though, and that hard battling, while it may have resulted in a position gain for Spag, it wouldn't have resulted in a gain of time. And when you're battling against Slash, who's just got past Nolan on this lap, and Falk on fresh mediums, it could really negate that advantage that you're going to get from the sauce at the end, because they will be coming out quite a long way behind us. It's Noon who's really struggling now. He has Packer and Arcolo chasing him down there. The Ferrari driver seems to have really dropped off the pace in this last lap.
He really has. He's staying out for another lap, though. On to lap 24 in this race. He's still going. This is the earliest you can pit for a set of softs and feasibly make it to the end without getting a puncture. So we're going to see maybe all of these drivers in at the end of this lap. But these guys battling now, they're actually coming under pressure from Zaldama, who also pitted on the same lap as Falk. And he's only 5 seconds back. And we consider how strong that undercut was. Zaldama could be right there. Noon's crashed.
Oh my!
Wow, he's crashed coming out of turn 3. He's hit the wall that sticks out there on the right-hand side, and that's a full safety car. Now that has played beautifully into the hands of those that are still out on the track.
Oh my word! That is a difficult traction zone. I think that Noon has snapped it into the outside wall. And that dramatically changes the course of this race. Now Kumblai can pit freely from the lead. The field all bunched up, and now the inclusion of penalties just became a lot more significant, with everyone now is going to be put on pretty much level playing field now. So watch for the strategy call. Surely pretty much everyone is going to come in from the race lead. What tyres are they going to go for? Because if we get a few laps behind that safety car, then soft tyres will be very, very practical here to use on this restart. So Kumblai coming in, there's going to be a whole host of cars in that pit lane. And I wonder, but I expect that soft tyres is going to be the call for most of those guys, and so they can give themselves as much of the advantage as they can. Kumblai in, soft tyres going on the Renault. He had a significant lead. He's still got an advantage without a penalty, but that lead that he had out on track is wiped out, and now there's a lot more pressure on the Dutchman for the lead in this race now.
There really is, but even with that, he's got absolutely no penalties left in this race at the moment. Just Kuhnblei looking at Packer, he massively benefited in the first pit stop phase. He's lost out, I think, this time around. Actually, no, he's jumped Spag, so Spag has been jumped. Falk has got a severe collision with someone. That was with Nolan, so Falk's got a time penalty for a severe collision. And I tell you what, I feel so sorry for Falk, who was looking like he could have jumped his way onto a podium, had a great shot of being on the podium, and this safety car has ruined that strategy. He is now down in 9th place. That is such a shame. Slash decided to stay out on his mediums, but I don't know if he's actually in control of his car or not. I don't think he is. Yeah, so he's up into 3rd place. So all of a sudden, Packer's now in a net 3rd. So Packer, again, for the 2nd pit stop phase in a row, has gained places in the pit lane.
Yeah, you can see that again, and that has been the catalyst for his success in this race, remarkably so. The Alfa Romeo now running in contention up near the front. So can he now maybe try and use that as a platform to build on? He has 6 seconds of penalties though, so Spag behind him will gain on him in that case. And you have Zauma, Yorno and Mikras further down the field, who are completely clean. They are also in this race if it stays bunched up. So Slash, assuming he does regain control of this car, he is going to have by far the worst tires in the entire field. He is going to be in such a dire position to hold on to that 3rd place, even if he did still have control of that car. So Packer surely is going to charge at him. Spag as well will be on the move, and it does give an opportunity for Kuhnblei and for Gary to establish a gap at the front of the grid, because Slash could be holding these guys back, and it's going to allow this top 2. For the 2nd time in this race, Slash is out the lobby again. His AI, he goes into the pit lane as well. His connection is completely dropped off there. You had to feel for Slash then. And with that strategy call, he may well have been onto a winner there. He could have jumped himself into a great position, but now he's not going to have a chance to really do much in this race. So Slash, unfortunately, after a much better showing this time out, doesn't look like he's going to be rewarded with a decent position.
Yeah, that is such a shame. Just like with Falk, they kind of went for this audacious strategy of pitting a little bit earlier, trying that massive undercut. It looked like it was going to work, and just unfortunately Noon's crash has put pay to that strategy, unfortunately. So it is a shame that it's ended up like that, but that is how this kind of season goes, really, isn't it? You've got to be there at the right time for any situation. Those drivers that stayed out were going for a different strategy, and staying out paid in their favour, so they're the ones that benefit from it. Everyone then, from 2nd down to 11th, has a time penalty. Kuhnblei doesn't, and Zauma doesn't. So Zauma is probably the first person to look out for in this race further down the field. He's going to have to get, if Slash gets back in control of his car, he's going to have to get ahead of Slash and RJDW very quickly if he wants to gain places. And with the amount of penalties we've got for the drivers in front, it's not out of the question that Zauma could still end up in the top 5.
I think that's rather realistic. He did this this happened exactly as this, with a late safety car, and he gained a huge host of places while being further down the field because he had no penalties. That is going to be the game now in the latter part of this race. So change of position there. Slash is retaking control of his car, I believe. So he now is going to move along then. And he does run wider. I think he was a bit of an illegal move, so Nolan does reclaim that place then. He slots in between Nolan and Zauma. Ryan, we're still waiting to get on to the rear of the field, and I think we're going to have another lap then under safety car conditions there, under full course yellow flag. So Kuhnblei still leads then. He's probably itching to get this underway. We're going to have 9 laps of green flag racing. And I can tell you, Mexico has produced thrilling finales to the Division 2 races, both in Season 3 and in Season 4. Let's see if we're going to get the same fortunes here in pre-season. So Kuhnblei is going to control the restart. He has led this race effectively from lights out. He has maintained that place up at the front of the grid, but now Gary has a chance at him then, and if he can time Kuhnblei's restart, can move with him, he has a real chance of getting up to him because of how strong that slipstream is. He won't have DRS, but the slipstream is so powerful that he may well have a chance of getting him into turn 1 if he can time that restart just right.
Yeah, that is going to be key to Gary. If he wants any chance of winning this race, he has to get past Kuhnblei almost immediately in this race. If Kuhnblei gets to the middle part of the lap and is still in the lead of this race, it's a game over unless Gary can pull something out of the bag, because Kuhnblei not only has had a pace advantage in this race, he's still got the penalty advantage. So he needs to force Kuhnblei into a mistake to win this race. At this point, though, you've got to say Kuhnblei looks incredibly comfortable in that lead position. He looked comfortable last time out in Budapest. He's looked unassailable in this race. I will be shocked if he loses this race. I mean, I might commentate his cursing, and it may end up dropping right to the back of the field, but this is looking like another strong race for him, and the safety car is in this lap, so we're going to get underway for 10 laps, I think, of green flag racing.
Here we go. So Kublai now backing up the field. Where does he go then? He's got some options available to them. Of course, heading through this stadium section. Is he going to wait to go to draw out to the line, try and minimise that slipstream effect, or is he going to go early, try and catch his rivals out? He is still keeping that going in a turn 13. He hasn't quite made his move yet, but there's a bit of daylight opening between himself and Gary. Gary has tried to maybe cap himself up towards him, but Kublai seen that, taking full advantage of it. Now it's run well clear. Brilliantly timed restart for Kublai. It is Gary who's going to be the man under pressure, because Packer now really him in. Spag right down, and Milan as well, chasing down Arcola for the inside line of the racing point. Draws level, does the Mercedes driver, heading in to the first corner on the 28th lap. Then side by side, Milan down the inside line, nearly runs into Spag. Then Arcola around the outside. They're wheel to wheel, they're turn 2, turn 3. Bob Milan trying to get through, runs a bit wide, and will get that move done there. Jekyll now through Falk. Fading back to the outside, looking at turn 4. He's done this once before in the race. He's going to try yet again, but the McLaren lay on the brakes, covers him up, squeezes him out, and Falk coming back again, heading towards turn 6. No, that one is just about covered off by the McLaren driver who maintains P7, who really benefited from that safety car period. But Kublai, Gary, I think, tried to just get a run on him. He didn't expect Kublai to go so early, but Kublai saw Gary backing off, saw his opportunity, and jumped well clear, a second clear already. And now, to add to your point, I'd be even more shocked now if Kublai doesn't win this race. He's been in imperious form and now will not be under threat from DRS. He has not put a foot wrong so far this evening.
He really hasn't. That was a really odd call from Gary to hang that far back. You only really need to hang that far back if you were on a straight already before the start, but they were in the middle of the final sector. So if you lag that far back and Kublai recognised it like he did, he can just go, and Gary won't have the time to react to it. So Gary just really caught napping there. He was lucky that Packer wasn't close enough and the DRS isn't enabled yet, so that he was able to hold on to second place. Packer looking okay at the moment in third place. Spag is on the back of him, but not all over him as it stands. Zaldimar's got the move on RJDW as he needed to. He passed Nolan and all that as well. So Zaldimar's up into 9th place. If he can get onto the back of Falk, Zaldimar could be on the podium.
As for the back there, he had Nolan, a huge lunge at RGDW, but he got it stopped, got it turned in, and got it done without any contact then. So Nolan coming through, but he has 20 seconds of penalties to his name. So that is really going to put a damper on his chances of getting up any higher. We are still with 4 clean drivers out there on the road, with Zernwer looking to try and really capitalise on this, and he is in an outside bit of a podium, it must be said, as Slash getting a penalty is not going to help his chances. He gets alongside his teammate Yorno, down in a turn 12, and he's going to get that done, runs wide on the exit, but Yorno, the D3 champion, unable to get through there. It's RGW that's holding all these guys back then. Larkin is all over him, can't get through. Slash now trying to make progress out there as DRS now enabled, but we won't see it until near the end of this lap, so they're going to have to drive it, they're going to have to overtake the old-fashioned way, as Larkin does now, as he draws alongside, he draws level and past the AlphaTauri, and look at the run that MMA Slash has there. Can he get turn 1? He cuts between them, threads the needle, and now radiates to the Larkin in a turn 1. No way does he pull this off. MMA Slash is trying, looking to get out 11th place, but Larkin gets back alongside him on the exit. Slash draws ahead. What a move from Slash, gets one, gets another, now up in 11th place. His race has practically come undone, but that was sensational there. Larkin couldn't hold him off. The Red Bull charging, but he's got ground to make up, but nevertheless, what an overtake from Slash, mate. That might be the best one we've seen all evening.
He's just trying to prove, I think, where he could have been in that race. That was insane. The run he had down the pit straight was unlike anything I think I've ever seen. He was so fast in a straight line. I saw it earlier on when he was pulling away from people when they were in his slipstream. So Slash has really set that car up to be fast in a straight line, and it's paid beautifully for him so far. Unfortunately, those penalties that he's got are really going to cost him in this race, and obviously that disconnect he had earlier on, but we'll see where he can get to on the road. Out front, Kublai now 2 seconds clear already. Packers lost DRS to Gary. That is crucial. That could save Gary's podium if he's able to pull away, and Spag is going to have a run now at Packer, and Packer is almost completely out of ERS as well, so you can tell he's been trying to push, trying to keep up with Gary, and it's just not worked. Just Falk in the background going for another move on J. Cole, but he's not quite close enough into turn 1 just to sit back for the time being. Falk, unfortunately, with that 5-second time penalty for a collision, is going to cost him in this race. And Zaldimar's still right with these guys as well. He's not within DRS range, but he's still in the battle. So can't count Zaldimar out just yet as Falk goes for another look. But again, just isn't close enough as Slash already passed Nolan. Slash is flying at this point in the race.
Absolutely flying. There's one from me there, but he does he does have that 15 seconds of penalty. It's going to cost him dearly. Nolan trying to fight back, can't quite manage it then. Further up the field is Arcolan, and now looks to be on the move then. He and Milan have been going back and forth all the way through. Milan got him on the restart. Arcolan trying to pay revenge. There's contact between them, going in at turn 11. I have no clue what's happened there. I think there was a mistake from Milan. They must have maybe lost traction, and now Arcolan's been collected. A dramatic crash down there into the third sector. Did not get a good view of how the Mercedes driver just backed off there somewhat. Absolutely dramatic stuff. The flags clear themselves. There's now a huge break in the train as J. Cole has benefited from that. Now Spag, can he finally get the move done on Packer? Heading into turn 1, goes to the inside line, and the Alfa Romeo draws level onto the brakes, draws ahead on the brakes, and draws clear at the apex. Now, Spag finally gets the move done. Nolan repassing Slash down there in the turn 1. Arcola now out of the race. Milan out of the race. How on earth has that collision come to pass? And now we have 6 drivers out of the Mexican Grand Prix. Absolutely dramatic stuff, and that's hugely shaking up the front of this race.
I just caught that at the bottom of my screen. It was Milan going through the end of the S section, had a massive snap of oversteer on the exit of the corner and just overcorrected. He basically snapped to the left, spun to the right, and then spun back to the left right in front of Arcolo. And Arcolo had absolutely nowhere to go. That is such a shame. It was just an unfortunate mistake for Milan, something he wouldn't have really been able to hold, and it just caught him and Arcolo out at the wrong time. That is a shame. They were running such good races up until that point, having a great battle between each other, and it all falls apart through really no massive fault of their own. It's just one of those unfortunate incidents, so they're out of the race. But that has put Falk up into 5th, Jacob up into 6th, and Zaldimar's now up into 7th on the road. Slash has lost the place now to Nolan, so I don't know if his Slash has picked up some damage or made a mistake somewhere, but Nolan has repassed the Red Bulls, so he is back up into 8th place as Nolan despite all the penalties. Slash down to 9th, Larkin inside the top 10, and Yorno at this point in the race is going to drop a lot of them on penalties.
And Jacob down the inside of Falk in turn 1. Running it out wide, Falk will hold on to it, but can Jacob get a better exit off of turn 3? And then gets a better run from the Haas, though gets a great launch off the corner. Still the McLaren trying to reel him in using the last of his overtake mode. Looking to the inside line, doesn't dive it though. Falk will cover him off and maintain it. As it stands with Zaldivar in range, I think at the moment Spag is getting that 2nd place off of Gary, which was remarkable from starting 15th on the grid. He is looking at 2nd place. The safety cars dramatically helped him, but even so, it's been a fantastic drive from Spag through and through, and he is now hunting down P2 and this Mexican pre-season race, and Zaldivar as well, and in with a great chance of fighting up there for some of the top places. I'm trying to work out, is he in range of Packer? Of Packer. I think he may well be. I don't think he's in range of Gary, but he is jumping Packer as it stands. So I think right now your podium's looking to be Kuhn, by Spag and Gary in that order, with Zaldivar at the moment looking for 4th place. That is how the penalties are going to affect the racing out there on track. Can Packer maybe put Spag in a bit of jeopardy then as he chases him down? And again, Jacob looking for that 5th place and looking to the inside line, doesn't get through it. Slash repassing Nolan, and a seesaw battle as a penalty for Packer is dramatic and emphatic and crucial in that fight up there at the front of the grid. Now Falk is going to be jumping in, and Jacob may well benefit from that if he can try and close up to him on the track. Not going to get through, but Packer then with a penalty, with the field still very close out there on track then, as that's going to put Zaldivar easily 4th place. Looks like Gary's going to get the podium, which he will deserve after this race. The penalties, as predicted, are going to shape things up, but one thing they're not going to change as it stands right now, Kublai, 3.5 seconds clear, no penalties. He has utterly dominated this race so far, and as you said, he is either and with a great chance of winning the championship next season, or he's just completely cost his chances of winning the championship with how dominant he's been in both these pre-season races.
It really has. No one has been anywhere close to him. I mean, looking at qualifying, you would have thought this was going to be a close battle between Kublai and Gary. Remember, only 2,000 separated those two in qualifying. But in race conditions, as I predicted, Kublai is something else in these race conditions. He is just so confident. He makes no mistakes. He's so clean. There is no penalties for him, unlike almost everyone on the track, as J. Cole this time around has got the move done on Falk well before the braking zone for turn 1. So J. Cole this time back up into 5th place ahead of Falk. Can Falk try and repass him maybe on the next lap? We've got 1 lap to go when they cross the line, as Yorno's passed Larkin on the track, so Yorno's now inside the top 10, and he should be able to pass Nolan. He will pass Nolan and Slash very easily on penalties as it stands. Packer trying to get close to the back of Spag as well for 3rd on the road, but that's not quite going to pay off for the Alfa Romeo driver at the moment. Remember, he started outside the top 10 as well, so he's had a good race from 13th, I believe, on the grid. A lot of people inside the top 10 started way down the field in this race and have gained massively, so it's been a race really where starting at the back actually seems to have been the best thing to do.
When it all comes down to just, you know, the incidents we've seen a lot of drivers crashing out of the race. 6 drivers out of the proceedings. Oh, and I saw Yorno making a mistake through the S section. Larkin going round the outside, gets forced off the track, going through turn 10. That's so ambitious from the racing point. And now Ryan trying to make it 3 abreast, and round the S into 2 cars, and it's spinning. Larkin runs into him. I don't think Ryan did anything wrong there. He swept right through, didn't even see him coming. He now runs inside the top 10, and Larkin, who's had a miserable day, now drops it down. But I don't think that Ryan did much wrong. Maybe he didn't leave in the space. I didn't quite get a great view of it. But Larkin now dropping in 13th place. It's been a race to forget for him. It's now Packer repassing Spag into that final lap of the race, but he has now 12 seconds of penalties. That's going to drop him well down the field. I think Jago and Valk are still going at it out there, and Slash is well moving past Zanima at the final stages in the race. Packer regains P3 on the road, but it won't be enough. He won't hold on to it as it stands. And now Gary has a fighting chance. He's not far away from that 2nd place. We're going to have to keep an eye out then. There is no doubt now about who is winning this race. QVR, Kublai, has driven near perfectly here tonight for the 2nd race running. He now heads through into the final sector. I've not seen him make a mistake. I've not seen him cut a corner, do anything wrong. And when he was threatened by the safety car, he rose to the occasion with flying colours. It's been a race of attrition here in Mexico, but the result will remain the same. Out of the final corner comes Kublai, who wins a 2nd race here in Division 2 pre-season, and more a statement to make ahead of the season. Gary is 2nd on the road, and Spagno is going to jump him just unbelievable by less than 2/10 of a second. Spag is P2, Gary P3, Zanima somehow 4th place from Falk. No, you can see the order shaking up there. McCrass and Yorno, who were cleaning this race, both jump up 5th and 6th. Falk has still for 7th, just in front of Packer 8, Jacob 9th, Ryan in 10th place from Slash, Nolan, RGDW, Larkin will cross 14th. What an eventful Mexican Grand Prix. Kublai wins it easily in the end. Never looked under pressure. He wins today by nearly 10 seconds, and it likely would have been more without the safety car period. Utter dominance from the Renault driver, and he has to be favourite going into the season.
He really does. Was there ever any doubt that Kublai was going to win this race? At no point in that race did it seem he made a mistake. That guy looks like he's on rails. It almost looks like an AI driver is driving that car. It is insane how easy he made that look. He wasn't pushing really at any point in that race, apart from getting fastest lap. He gets pretty much the clean sweep there. I don't know if he led every single lap of that race. I don't think he did. But he obviously gets pole position, race win, and fastest lap. Utter dominance for the 2nd week running. Gary on the podium for the 2nd week running as well. So if Kublai does get moved up, then Gary is putting himself at the front of the championship as well.
Yeah, Gary, really strong showing in both the races. Zanima as well, coming 2nd and 4th in both these races. He's also kind of made a bit of a statement, given his lack of qualifying pace, relative lack of qualifying pace, to get those results is pretty remarkable, but I wouldn't expect anything less from the man. We're going to get the results up there, run you through it. Kublai wins it from Spag in 2nd place there. Gary, probably without safety cars, he had P2, but he settles for 3rd there, just narrowly beaten out by Spag. Zanima is 4th in the end. Remarkably, he gets 4th from Mikras and Yorno, who also benefited from penalties, keeping clean throughout the race. And a track like Mexico shows where that could get you. Falk, who was quite unlucky, I'd say, generally in that race, gets 7th from Packer, who picked up penalties galore in the last few laps. He has to settle for 8th from Jaco. In 9th place, Ryan rounds out the top 10 from Slash, who had a thoroughly eventful race, finishes 11th. Nolan 12th, RGDW 13th, and Larkin 14th, who crashed on the run to the lane in the end. It was a race of attrition with Milan, Arcolo, Noon, Topes, Matt, and Skyzy not seeing out the checkered flag. That is going to round off another chaotic race here at Mexico. But in the end, we have the same winner. We'll see if the divisions are going to get reshuffled ever so slightly. Kumbli, of course, with the 2 showings of that caliber. I think that's certainly going to have the league organisers certainly looking out for that. But then again, who do you move down from that phenomenally strong Division 1 as well? Kumbli, I think it's up to the other guys to match up to that then. He's driven perfectly tonight. I know he likes this track. We'll see how it goes on next time out, which will be, of course, the first race of the season with the stakes much, much higher. And so it's going to be absolutely stellar. I believe the first round of the season is coming to you from the Red Bull Ring at Austria. Probably one of the tracks that produces such chaotic racing, such close racing. So that is surely going to be a mega spectacle. And in an already close Division 2 grid, I can't imagine what Austria is going to produce for us.
Yeah, I really can't predict what that's going to be either. Austria is one of those tracks where everyone is within basically half a second of each other all the time because there's so few corners and such long straights on that track. It's so close for racing, and strategy is crucial around there as well. So it would be stupid of me to predict who's going to win and who's going to be at the front next time out, because we had completely different running order today than we did in Budapest last time out. So I haven't got a clue who's going to come out on top next week, but that is the beauty of Division 2. I don't want to go into every division race knowing who's going to be at the front. I want it to be a surprise every week. So that looks like it's going to be the case for the season, which I am more than excited for.
Certainly, I was going to say absolutely there, but I refrained. I held back from it. I think that is going to be it for the on-track action, and these 2 pre-season races have just confirmed to me that we have a seriously special season ahead of us. Who knows who's going to come away with it with the championship? My oh my. It is going to be a spectacle. Please tune in for the season. The viewing numbers have been simply spectacular all the way throughout there. I think we've averaged about 30 viewers throughout this race, which is just phenomenal. Wow. So thanks very much to everyone that tuned into this race. Hopefully you're going to stick around for the next season. Please do, because that is going to be possibly the season of a century. Who knows what it's going to have in offer for us. Before we sign off for today, I'm going to ask you, Aidan, do you have any final words to reflect on 2 brilliant pre-season races?
I think both of those races, in terms of action and driving and racing between these guys, was absolutely brilliant throughout the entire field. All the way down to the back, there was battles galore. It was great to watch. And these guys, if Kumbli does stay in this championship, these guys have got a lot of work in their hands. These guys are going to have to practice day in, day out, because Kumbli at the moment might be feeling a little bit invincible.
Well, we'll see if he holds on to that air of invincibility heading into the first race, assuming he doesn't get moved up, of course. Please tune in for that. It is going to be a fantastic show. I am sure of it. Keep an eye out for all the other divisions as well. Of course, every Saturday, the Division 1, Division 3 and Division 4 at 6:40 PM UK time, and then you have Division 2 and Division 5 at 8:10 UK time. So keep an eye out on that then for when League of Europe finally gets back to racing next week, 30th of January. Mark it in your calendars for the start of Season 5 here in League of Europe. But I think with everything finally said and done for tonight, that is going to be it for pre-season, with the full season now ahead of us. So, with everything behind us now for pre-season, and it is goodbye from me and goodbye from Aidan. And until next time, we'll see you later.